I am here with Louise Congdon, the relationship coach. And for a period of nearly 3 years, he taught the works of Doctors John and Julie Gottman as part of the nation's largest research project, looking at how marital education impacts couples. He has since worked with over 300 couples and helped them to open up, communicate, and get the love they've always wanted. His work and coaching services can be found at www.lastingloveconnection.com. Welcome, Luis.
Hey, welcome. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm really excited to talk to you.
My pleasure. And tell us, what got you interested in working with couples?
It really began from an early experience of really searching to become a monk and feeling lonely in that path, So I lived in an ashram and really committed and devoted myself to following the tenets of monkhood. And one of those is, a deep commitment to prayer, celibacy, vow poverty, and being surrounded with people who are like-minded. But the key piece for me that was missing in all of that is that most of my issues, I wasn't really able to talk to other people about or feel like the sense of deep connection. And I met this really amazing woman who just knocked me off my feet. And when I met her, I felt something I'd never felt before, a warm hand meeting me when I felt sad, or, a hug and a kiss when I felt happy. And that for me was the missing piece that spirituality could not resolve for me. Once I met her, I really thought, this is what I've been missing, and this is going to be the key to my own spiritual journey and evolution. And there's got to be a lot of other people like me. So I devoted myself to learning about what's it take to have an amazing and loving relationship. Now, I did that because my relationship with her ended. She broke up with me, and I just thought, okay, well, one of the key tenets that I learned in my own spirituality was I am a creator of my life. I'm creator of my experiences. So why would I create someone that I can fall in love with, and then the pain of having her leave? So how do I create the opposite of that, which for me was learn and discover what it takes to have an amazing and awesome relationship. And I got a job working for that research project, teaching the work of Dr. John and Julie Gottman. And in that time period, I got to work with a lot of couples.
Okay, so I got to back up because
Yeah,
this is
please.
just this is such an interesting story. Okay, so you were becoming a monk, and you
Mhm.
met a woman and fell in love. So
Yes.
how'd that happen? If you
Uh,
don't mind me
yeah,
asking, because
yeah,
that's
definitely.
fascinating to me.
Definitely. Well, I worked in a spirituality bookstore.
Okay.
And there's a small little bookstore that is centered all around spirituality, providing people with kind of any entry point into spirituality, whether that's, books on channeling, programs on channeling, all sorts of psychic stuff, books on Christianity, paganism, Wicca, you name it, the bookstore tried to cover it as a way to help people find their own pathway into spirituality. So, right there, it was a pretty open bookstore. And I went to a class on some sort of astrology class. And there was this just really lovely woman there, and I asked her if I could talk to her for a little bit and maybe go for a walk with her, on a walk with her. And sorry, my words are getting all twisted. If I could go for a walk with her and just hang out and get to know her, and she said sure. We ended up hanging out, and immediately I just felt incredibly understood, felt her warmth, and felt myself in a process of discovering myself in a way that I never had through spirituality or through meditations or any kind of gatherings that occurred within spirituality. I felt this sense of humanness.
So in the process of this, I'm guessing you had to make a pretty difficult decision as far as going ahead with being a monk or being in a relationship. And how did you grapple with that?
Well, it was, for me, it was fairly easy just because one of the key things that I struggled with in my path to trying to become a monk was that sexuality was oftentimes viewed as wrong, as lustful, as sinful, as burdensome to your own spiritual evolution. And as a young man at the age of 24, like I would look at people and think, man, she's really attractive, and I
Yeah.
feel this strong compulsion towards her. Or I'd have dreams about women, and there was no way that I can get rid of those things. So for me, there seemed to be this kind of dichotomy between, we're learning how to be loving, and yet I'm having these other towards ways that I want to express myself, but they're in direct conflict with what I'm trying to do through the path of being a monk. So I left the ashram when I met this woman, not immediately, but soon after, because I really felt that being told that one thing was wrong, and yet it felt so great and felt like it was, tied into my own evolution in regards to my own spiritual path, that it was pretty clear for me that I needed to leave.
That's awesome. So you've worked with over 300 couples now. What are some of the most common issues that couples have?
The most common issue is couples feeling disconnected, and then that looks like a variety of problems, right? You don't take me out enough on date nights. We don't talk enough. We don't have enough sex. We always argue about money. We argue about the same problems. But really at the core of all of that is a sense of couples feeling disconnected and not knowing how to reconnect again.
Now you're talking my language here. So I immediately think, okay, well, they're disconnected from each other. How much of that is because they're disconnected from themselves?
Well, I think that it's kind of which one came first, right? The chicken or the egg, we'll never really know. What I do
Right.
know is that when someone gives us a chance, an opportunity to connect with them, we can also find connection within ourselves. And a partnership is really, there's a sort of interdependence. So it's not codependency, but there is a sense of dependency when we're in a partnership. Our partner provides a safe space for us to open up. And if they do that, we can recreate that connection again.
For the listeners who may not be familiar with codependency, can you talk just a moment about that?
Yeah, codependency is this kind of unhealthy attachment to the person that we're with, a sense of a reliance that goes deeper than we help each other, but is sort of, I'm not okay without you, or if you're not around, or if you're not fulfilling my needs, then there's something wrong with the world and there's something wrong with me. And we all have a tinge of that in relationships. It's just when it goes really deep and it's incredibly painful that it's probably a sign that we have some level of codependency.
Okay. You mentioned a few moments ago about couples arguing over the same thing all the time. And admittedly, in my own relationship, we have a certain topic that is a hot button for us. And I'm curious, for the couples who do argue over and over again about the same topic, what are some of the ways they can begin to feel heard and begin to communicate their needs even better?
Well, first, I want to tell you and anyone who's listening that it's normal to have topics that we argue about repeatedly. Those are called perpetual problems. And in the research of Dr. John and Julie Gottman and their work at the University of Washington, with over 3,000 couples followed for a period of 30 years, what they found was 69% of problems in a relationship are repetitive problems. They're usually problems that don't really have a direct solution. And 31% of problems have some sort of solution and we can resolve them. But sometimes we get into things that really are really inherent to the person that we're with and the dynamic that we have. So if you put one person who's really funny together with another person who maybe isn't funny, that's a really attractive quality. And yet this funny person may sometimes make jokes when it's inappropriate. And that serious person probably has a little bit more of an adept attunement to when it's right to be serious, because that's what they're good at. But this funny person uses their humor as a way to kind of, ease the mood or make people happy. And sometimes they don't know when it's wrong to use humor for that. And so that might become a repetitive issue for them. And that's okay. It's normal. You've got one person who's messy, one person who's clean, and so on. It's really normal to have these issues. What I found really helps couples to break some of these repetitive patterns is not so much changing the problem, because it may never change that your husband, your wife, your friend is constantly cracking jokes and it's their way to ease the mood. It might never change that your partner shows up late. There's just things that we may never change, but maybe our understanding of the problem, right? Because you know the saying, when you change the way you look at things, they change. And
Yeah.
so maybe just shifting how we look at the issue and having a conversation where we really try to understand why our partner views something in the way that they do. And admittedly, I know that that's an incredibly difficult process to work through. And that's where I really specialize with couples, is working through that entanglement that occurs when we're talking about a repetitive problem.
Okay. And what about for couples who get in a rut?
Getting in a rut's also really normal. There's different types of ruts. There's the ruts where we have the same problem over and over. There's the ruts where we don't have fun anymore. There's the ruts where we seem to have the same thing that we do every day, go to work, come home, eat dinner, watch TV, go to sleep, and do it all over again. There's different ruts. But the solution for most ruts is kind of the same. Usually one of them is, start injecting some date nights into your relationship. Start doing some new and novel activities. And that doesn't mean you have to do something extreme. It just means do something new with each other. So maybe you've never gone dancing with your partner, do that. Maybe you two have never gone skydiving. I like using skydiving because a lot of people have never done it. But it doesn't have to be some sort of big extravagant thing like skydiving. Just do something new that you've never done with your partner. And what the research by Dr. Aaron has shown is that when couples do new activities together, the brain starts sparking off some of the same neurons that it did when the couple first fell in love. So what we're doing when we do new activities is we're re-triggering the brain and those love chemicals again, and we're doing that with our partner.
Wonderful. What are some of the ways that the clients you've worked with, the couples you've worked with, describe the shift from being disconnected to connected?
One of the biggest ways is I feel safe. I felt heard and understood. I saw you in a way that I've been wishing to see you in a long time. I heard you and understood you in a way that I didn't know was there for you. I feel really close to you.
That's lovely.
Yeah, it felt good just to say it.
Yeah. I'm thinking, wow, how amazing would it be if all of us felt like that in all of our relationships, not just in romantic relationships? So does a lot of this work cross play into platonic and professional relationships as well?
When I first started doing this work with couples, I was 24 years old. I was heartbroken and I had never had much of a serious relationship. And I was immediately intimidated by couples. And I was meeting with couples who had children my own age or older, or had been married as long as I'd been alive. And I had many couples who kind of cross their arms and, kind of give me a glance like, what are you going to teach me? And I felt kind of intimidated, like I have no idea what I'm going to teach you. So I got really raw and vulnerable with couples. And I would say, I'm noticing your expression and I understand your concerns. I'm young. You guys have been married and been alive a lot longer than I've even been here. So it's not so much that I'm going to teach you something, is that we're going to talk about the research and we're going to talk about tips and skills that I've learned. And here's the thing, is I may have never been married, but I know what it's like to have a healthy relationship with my parents. I know what it's like to have a good relationship with my best friends. And when you guys agree that some of those skills that you use also cross over to your marriage, the ways that I treat my mom, are also very similar to the way that I would treat my partner. Wouldn't you agree? And immediately couples would open up like, okay, yeah, because we're not talking so much about a marriage, we're talking about a relationship, and all relationships have the same fundamental ingredients. Really, the only difference between an intimate relationship and your friendship with someone is there's a magnifying glass. Everything is intensified, but the ingredients are really all the same. You know, I love my partner. I love her like crazy. I'm also able to get more upset with her than I am with anyone else in my life. And the way that I resolve those issues are exactly the same I would with anyone else.
Cool. All right, I don't want to leave out all the single people out there. So, when you are single and searching, what are some ways that you can become more clear about what you really want in a partner? And how do you advise people to start attracting those qualities?
I love this topic. You know, I was single until I was 24 years old. The only time I ever dated was pretty much if a woman grabbed me by the collar and pulled me in and told me, I like you and I want to go out with you. And the only way she was going to get a kiss from me is if she grabbed me by the collar and kissed me. So I was really aloof to dating. And now in my practice, I love working with single people. I really excel at it. One of the key ways that we can make ourselves love magnets, attractive, and, you know, attract the people and the partnerships that we want in our lives. First thing I really like people to do is write down some of the ideal qualities of your ideal partner and your ideal relationship. You know, my partner would be fun. She'd be outgoing. She'd be generous. She'd be loving. She'd be expressive. And then what are some ways that I can be more of those qualities right now? You know, what are ways that I can be more fun? Maybe I need to go to a martial arts class because that's fun for me, or take an art class. What ways can I embody the qualities that I want my partner to have? Because as you are, you attract, right? I also really think that watching movies is an incredible way to bring more of those emotions into yourself and into your body. I used to love watching Meet Joe Black. There was a particular scene in that movie where he's with the woman and he's totally in love with her. And when I watched that part of the movie, I would go, oh, that's me falling in love. And I would just feel it. And the music in the movie is just perfectly timed with his facial expressions. So I really felt love. The movie Hitch also has some cool scenes in it. So I suggest for people, pick out some movies that make you feel the ways that you want to feel in your partnership and dating, and watch some of those scenes, just enough to allow you to bring in those emotions and those feelings into your body. And trust me, next thing you know, you're at some class or you're walking down the street, someone says hi to you, and boom, those feelings will go off and you will recognize these are the feelings I've been sending out, and now they're coming back to me through this person.
Absolutely. And I have to share with you, I'm smiling really big. Meet Joe Black was the very first movie I took myself on a date to.
Mm.
So yeah, great movie, and holds a special place in my heart. I think I've seen it multiple times now. I
You know,
know
you also,
exactly.
yeah, you also bring up one other thing too, if I can add, is
Sure.
take yourself on dates. I mean, that's what you said, you took yourself on a date. I really think that it's important for you, in whatever ways that you can, bring in the feelings of your partnership even before it's there. Somehow bring those feelings in, and taking yourself on a date's an incredible one.
Yeah, I have shared for years when I went through my last breakup, I committed to dating for the sake of dating for a whole year because I had never done that before. And part of it was that I wanted to get to know myself more. And so I also made a date night with myself and spent the same level of trying to get to know who I am that I would have brought to a potential partner. And it made a huge difference in when I entered my next relationship, which is the one that I'm still in. So I think those are great pieces of advice for anyone who's listening that's single and searching. All right, I want to get a little personal now because you are a very spiritual person and you do commit to living very intentionally. What are some of the tools that have helped you through the dark nights of your own ego?
Hmm. Meditation is definitely one. And for me, meditation is very simple. It's just closing my eyes, feeling sensations in my body, and breathing. It is really that simple for me. And that doesn't always help. I mean, sometimes I'm so mentally disturbed, emotionally off that, doing that practice doesn't actually make me feel more calm. Another one that I really love doing is just going outside and walking barefoot. I know it sounds kind of hippie, but for me, just walking barefoot and feeling the grass on my feet is a very awesome way just to connect to sensation. And and all the work that I've done in psychology and spirituality, at the root of both of them is when you're able to experience sensation without this mental interpretation or this mental stuff that's happening. When you just experience feeling, that is really one of the gateways or portals to becoming fully present and really feeling a sense of freedom. If you think about the times when you're most in love, you're having a lot of sensations moving through your body. An orgasm is kind of like the climax of sensation, but when you're having an orgasm, you can't be going, oh my God, I got to pay the bills and I'm stressed out about this. You're completely committed to a sensory experience.
Absolutely. If you could help the world know one thing wholly, completely, what would it be?
I've I really strongly believe that if everyone could feel a strong sense of love in their body, that the world would be safe and the world would all our needs and everything would be satisfied. So if I could teach somebody something, it would be how to feel love in your body.
Mm. What's the most courageous decision that you're resisting making in your life right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. For me, it's really getting out there and teaching more of this content to people. It's a little bit of an edge for me. And that's why it's so wonderful to be here on the show and really putting myself out here and sharing who I am with people. But I would like to be doing more classes more often and being a little bit more vocal about, okay, I'm a blend of spirituality and psychology, and here are my unique blends of it.
All right, so are you willing to put it out there now? Like, what's your big goal that you have for 2015?
That's beautiful. One of my biggest goals in 2015 would be teaching 1 to 2 classes every month live in person, and committing to that, even if it means I'm going to show up to a state or a country that I've never been to and I've got to figure out a way to hold this class.
Nice, I like it. The universe is listening, so
Oh, that's beautiful.
make it happen. What are you most grateful for in your life?
Right now, in this moment, I'm most grateful for my partner in the room next door, she's either awake on her computer or she's still sleeping, but just the thought of her makes me feel really wonderful and peaceful.
Nice. And how did you meet?
Yeah, we met dancing.
I love it. That's a great way to meet.
Yeah.
Who are your mentors, either literally or maybe they're just simply people whose wisdom you follow from afar?
Definitely. So some of my mentors are the poet Hafiz,
Mm.
wonderful, long dead, but still living through his poetry. Pablo Neruda,
Hmm.
Dr. Harville Hendrix, and Dr. Gay Hendrix,
Hmm.
and then just kind of the classic for a lot of people is my dad. My dad is really, if I could be who my dad is, I feel like I can gladly say I'm a good person and I'm living a good life.
Oh, that's lovely. I hope that you send this to him so that he can hear that over and over again.
He knows it.
All right. So, how can people find out more about you or take some of these classes, especially those live classes that you're going to be offering 1 to 2 times a month in various states and countries?
Definitely. So one of the first things is that I'd like to offer the listeners is I've created a nice little PDF for 40 awesome date night ideas that you guys can get either at my website, lastingloveconnection.com. You will have to opt into the email, and then I'll send it to you at some point within the email chains that I send out. You can also download it directly from the Whole Being podcast. So 40 awesome date nights. And then I have a little fun little game for couples that you can take out and do on your date night. So it's a way for you guys to get to know each other and kind of reignite some of that passion and that curiosity that you first had when you first fell in love. If you're interested in contacting me, again, it's lastingloveconnection.com. You can find me, my services, videos, the podcast, anything you want around the work that I do is available there.
That's lovely. And we will post those on the show notes page. And I cannot wait to see Dave's expression when I pull these out and use them on our next date night, whenever
Beautiful.
That may be. He's
Love it.
all the way across. He is literally all the way across the country right now. Like we can just draw a straight line from one side of the country to the other. And that's about how close we are this week. But when he returns, we'll definitely be trying these out. I'm excited to be offering those. I have one more question for you. And I ask this of all of the guests. What does whole being mean to you?
A whole being for me is really back to a feeling, a sense of feeling whole in my own body, feeling complete with how I am in the world and how I feel about my world.
Ah, lovely. It has been an honor and a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for your wisdom and your energy and your love. You just bring I love that Sufi poet is one of your favorites as a mentor, because you have that lightness and that energy of love just surrounding you. So thank you for sharing that with myself and everyone listening.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and I hope you guys got some value out of this. Thank you.
You're welcome.